This is a Woodlawn-bound 4 express train. The next stop is Marshallwood Parkway.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Heary, we are back. The On the Four podcast. It's me, Sweet Tea, and my favorite other people are
Tree.
Tasha.
And it's your favorite uncle, Uncle Val.
always
Welcome
gotta
back.
emphasize favorite Uncle Val. We know. But we are back live in effect. I got some. I'm gonna be doing some classics, but I need my throat a little wet right now. It's not. It's not there. I can't sing for you. I'm not ready. Next episode. Definitely the next episode. But I want to jump right in because I am approaching 50.
Wait.
And
I
Mind
think
your
it went
business.
out.
Mind your
I am approaching 50.
I need somebody
Something.
to look up the word approaching because I don't think.
But are you
What's the
APPROA.
what's the end?
are
What's the
well okay,
suffix?
my
Did
question
you
is
approach?
Approaching
okay,
Been
50.
approached?
are
She
you
didn't get there yet.
approaching it as Benjamin Buttons?
I'm approaching
Were you
50.
going backwards?
Go with me, guys. This is a
I
family
can't.
I'm
thing.
I
with you.
can't.
I'm with you.
Go
I'm
with
with
me.
you.
I
I'm
I'm
can't.
with you.
approaching 50. But anyway, when we get to a certain age, we can either be approaching our 40s, 50s, 60s. A question: why do women and men feel uncomfortable with aging? Like, why is it such a big thing when it comes to aging? I'm just approaching 50, so
I think the issue with, well, for some people with aging is the fact that you think you're no longer going to be able to do some of the things that you've done before. And also your body tends to start letting you down. You get to a certain point where just getting out of bed hurts. I remember I went to bed the night before my 40th birthday. Fine. I got up that morning of my birthday, stood up. I was like, "Oh shit." I had to sit back down for a minute. Ain't nothing changed. All the thing is I went to sleep at 39, woke up at 40. And I was like, "Oh, damn." So I think it's just society, your body, and then then your mind. You're thinking, I'm not gonna be able to do the things that I've done before. And then with society, you know, society a lot of times is really not kind to older people.
That's true.
They don't treat them like they used to in the past, where your elders were revered and looked upon, with such esteem, and you went to them for advice and for, everything. That's not the society we're in now.
That's true. That's
That's
true.
true.
Tree, did you have like a lot of BC powder when you had turned 40 that night? And when we went away? Because I don't think you woke up you was on fire.
You know what, guys? You know what? So the crazy thing is, I joke about getting old, turning old, being old, but it's actually a blessing. So I literally joke, and I'm just grateful and blessed, especially nowadays, like to be able to, see another year, because people are dropping like flies. So I joke about it, but I don't mind it. The only thing I think that kind of scares me, or just the reality of how fast time flies, because I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm 36. And then I think about it and I'm like, okay, if I'm 36, it was so much more stuff I should have did in my 20s that I didn't do thinking I had time. So time does fly. It waits for no one, but it's a blessing. I joke, but it's a blessing to get old. And I agree, Uncle Val, your body. Okay? I think I don't know. When you go to bed, you wake up in another body.
Mm-hmm. With a new pain. No, I agree with you, Tree. I was gonna say that, like, I think when we were younger, looking at getting old, it was like, oh my God, we're gonna get old. But the more you experience in life, you're like just blessed to you want to age. You
Yeah.
don't you want to age as healthy as you can, but you want to see more years. So yeah. And again, I agree with you, Uncle Val. I feel pains in my body that I can't explain sometimes. I don't know what's going on. But I will say that, especially like our generation, Tree, like we're aging well. So
Yeah.
it's not like, I don't know. I think I used to look at 30-year-olds and be like, they 30? Like, I think for us, it's like we you take care of yourself. So it's not that, I don't have that fear of aging or like, that
Yeah,
stigma. But I do think that, like you said, times are changing where the respect level and the appreciation and all those things are kind of going out the window for our elders, and that's a sad thing to see.
yeah. And um,
I
go ahead. Go ahead, sweetie.
oh I couldn't hear you guys. I because I am approaching 50, right? I don't fear aging. What I think mentally is that I look around and I see a lot of people. I don't see the kind of bond and connection growing up that I used to see, like with my grandparents, or and with my parents. Like, the older people did a lot of things together. They had cookouts, they had card games, they had some type of unity, that kind of showed that they were the glue that held the family together. And nowadays I see a lot of people, of older age, 40 plus, even the 35 and the 40 plus, that don't seem to be kind of unified as of connecting together. I mean, this platform that we have it together as family, but I don't really, I don't really have like friends or associates that are like my age. It's like hard finding people that kind of relate to you at your, that's your same age. I think that's what
It's hard for you because you don't know your age. So you looking for groups of people that no, I'm sorry, carry on. I'm sorry.
um anyway, but I enjoyed that growing up, seeing, my grandparents, doing things with, their family members that were their age, and, coming together with these, you know, good times. And that's not something that we do right now. I do understand that, nowadays it's like the older population is still out there. We still out there in the streets, whether it's working, hustling, doing whatever. When me seeing my grandparents as I grew up, they were retired. They did these things retired, or if they didn't, they still found time on the weekend to kind of come together. But I don't see that, you
Mm.
know, now in this day and age. I tend to kind of, you know, stay close to do things with my family instead of, you know, like more like people that are my age. You know, the people who I consider close friends who are like family, they're younger than me. You know, I mean, they're not that much. They're not approaching 50 like I am, but you know, it's like, you know, those times I don't see anymore.
Mm.
So, you know, it does kind of give me that fear of like, dad, you know, if the older I get, you know, am I going to have people that going to be able to relate to me? You know, the older I get, am I going to, you know, am I going to be able to stay connected with people in my age group? You know, because I don't see
Mhm.
that now.
And if I can just touch back on something Tasha said um, about when you were younger and you know looking at people in their 30s and 40s and 50s and at that time thinking, you know what, that's old. You
Mhm.
know, but then as I got into that group, I'm like, well, I'm sorry because you know I don't feel old.
Mhm.
You know,
You're
so
Mhm.
not that
I'm
old after all.
yeah, I'm like I'm sorry for thinking that those folks were old when I you know I'm like okay now for Sweet Tea she's approaching 50, I'm approaching 60. I got
Thank you
several.
for your honesty.
I got several years to go, but you know what? I'm looking forward to it because,
Mm.
Thank you.
like Tree said, it's a blessing to get to this age.
Mhm.
Because how many people we know didn't make it?
Mhm.
You know, we know people that didn't make it to 10, that didn't make it to 15, 18, 20, 21. Never saw their 21st birthday.
Very true.
So
Yeah.
I've gotten to get to milestones. I got to 21, I got to 30, I got to 40, I got to 50. I'm looking forward to 60.
Those are big blessings.
Yeah.
You know, I really am, you know. Now do I wish some things would change?
Mhm.
Like like my hair? I left that
You ain't got no chance. Think
I
of
left
something more realistic. Be more
I
realistic.
left that in the 40s,
Yeah.
you know.
But
But
what I can, what I can say is that growing up and looking at older people, I realized that they weren't as old as what I thought they
Mhm.
were. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? You know, when I thought, when looking at my grandparents at that time, they were 50 something years old, you know, and I'm like, they, oh, I'm saying that, oh, you know, so
Mhm.
when people start calling you Mr. and Miss, you be like, dang, that's old. But to me, I see it as a level of respect. You can call me Miss Tanya, you can call me Miss Smart. Doesn't matter. I see it as a level of respect. I don't view it as old. I don't. But you know, but I know growing up it was like Miss Mary, Miss Ann,
Yeah.
Mr. Bolden, Mr. You know, that to me it was old people.
hey, I'm officially in Unk status. What up, Unk? How you doing, Unk? That's my status.
That's still
Eh,
kind of young. You borderline. You like teetering
Mhm.
on the edge of still in it and old. So you that unk is good,
Mhm.
but don't
Still
let it
Yeah,
go
in
to
but
it,
your head.
still in it,
but
and then
how about
old.
OG?
OG.
I'm not OG yet. I'm still
OG
Unk.
is old.
Uh,
So I'm still Unk.
that's your father tree. They call him OG.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but and then I take it as a sign of respect. You know, when they approach me and you know, hey, Unk, you know, how you doing? Hey, Unk, what you think about this? Whatever. You know.
Yeah.
but I think like with Nana and Pop age, like how you had mentioned, like they weren't that old, but we looked at it like looked at them that way. I think it was more so the way they carried themselves. Not saying that, but you know they were very mature and you
Hmm.
know so is again that level of respect. Even though they were younger, it was just the way they carried themselves. Now
I
you
think
got some grandmas. Never mind.
65 still in the club.
Right. Not saying you know it be
But hey,
okay.
if they want to rock it, go rock on.
I think it was just a time back then too, because it's even like some of our leaders or some of the people we looked up to growing up, like they died at 25 when I thought they were like 40. Like, so I think it was just a different time in the way we carried ourselves.
I seen that too. Like I look up weird stuff. So like when Otis Red and Sam Cooke, looking at them, I'm like,
Hmm.
dang, they were like 20 something. I'm like,
Martin
Hmm.
Luther
what?
King, like,
Yes.
Yeah.
so yeah.
We living in different times, I tell you.
Hmm.
So,
And that's part of why those folks, our grandparents and great grandparents, we thought, you know, they were older or whatever because it was a different time. They didn't
Hmm.
have any of the stuff we have now. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have computers. They didn't have social media. If they wanted to talk to somebody, they picked up that landline and called.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
little rotary.
the rotary
yeah.
phone. This
Hmm.
kid, if you put a kid, you put today's kids in a room with a rotary phone and tell them the only way out you got to make a call.
It's over.
We ain't gonna ever see them.
Mm-mm.
We ain't gonna ever
But
see them.
also back then, that time where it was more, you utilized your kind of imagination. You would go to your grandparents' house and you would create games, and
Hmm.
at home you played with each other. I remember my grandmother, on a two-bedroom apartment, it'd be like 11 of us, right,
Hmm.
Chevelle? Our cousins. You go in that one room and y'all all had to play together, okay? You didn't come out here, kids were seen, I heard. But now the mentality is different. And I think grandparents are getting younger, even though, back then, our grandparents were young when they had kids, but they were married. I'm going to say they might have been a little more established mentally than what may be today. They took on their roles and their responsibilities, and they lived by them. But nowadays I think everything is more modern, you know more you know, more, what is that, AL now? More,
What is that?
more
AL. Are you talking about
AL or
AI?
AI or
Yeah.
AI, whatever it is.
Oh, okay.
But
See, there you go.
you know what's also
You
funny?
definitely approaching 50.
Yeah, I'm approaching 50, right?
You know what's also funny though? I say that like back then they looked a little bit more older and mature at a younger age. Our generation, we're looking, including everybody on the call, we're looking younger at our age. But the next generation, they looking older again because they're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
like high school girls or even some of these celebrities. I'm like, they younger than me, but they look
Bodies. I
every
just
hair.
started growing breasts in the
Right.
last few years.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
it's
I
a
agree with y'all.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I agree.
But
Times is
in speaking about that, as a mother, okay, I'm gonna say as a mother, and as women too. I'm gonna use women, or we could say men.
I'm about to say I
Why?
can't speak for either one of those.
Right.
so people
But
in general. People in general.
Hmm.
people in general, why? Okay, let's start off with women after birth, right? Why are we sometimes feel like are ashamed of our bodies? You know, I remember having children being stretched out, but it was a beautiful moment for me because I felt what was growing inside of me, and my body changed. For some point in time, I was like, "Dag, I don't feel, I feel unattractive." That went away real quick. I didn't even have time to feel unattractive. I had kids and kids and kids, but I'm just saying, like, why is it that the older we get, the more we kind of feel like we are shameful of our bodies? Like, why would we want to? And I'm just saying, people can do what they like, but why would I want to have a 22-year-old body and I'm approaching 50? I feel like we should be comfortable in our bodies as we age. So, I mean, what is your intake on that? Like body
I
shaming, like
I would say it's a two-part um answer to it. As far as one, the person is not happy with themselves. They're not happy with how they look and how they feel. They may not be happy with how their clothes are fitting, you know. And then the other part of that is society. How society views people of a certain size, certain image, certain height, whatever, So, but first, I think it's your self image, how you are viewing yourself. If you see it, you can be 700 pounds, but if you think you the sexiest thing on the planet, that's how you gonna act. That's the confidence you're gonna portray out to the world. Now everybody else be like, damn, 700, but you're gonna be like, this is the sexiest 700 you ever gonna see, and
I
and
know
be
that's
and have no shame about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if your self image has been damaged or you don't feel good about yourself, that's gonna play a big part, and you're gonna always want to try to correct that any means, that any way that you can, surgeries, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I haven't gone through, birth or anything like that, but
Me
I can
too.
speak on I can speak on like just body changes, period. Like as I age, all the weight is not as easy to get rid of the weight that I used to be able to, you know, bounce off of me and be good. I think that, like you said, is a self image. There are things in my body that I'm like, hey, if I had the money, I might get a little whatever, whatever. And it has nothing to do with my aging or anything. I've had these insecurities since I was younger. So I think I don't know. I think it just, like you said, depends on the person and how they see themselves. But yeah, I can't speak to the other part though. Yeah, I can. But
I think you guys touched on pretty much everything, but one of the biggest things I think, especially now in this time, is social media.
mm-hmm.
People see, all these celebrities and people going to get work done, and people are always on social media. It's like, dang, her body look nice. I wish I had that, that, that. So social media, I feel, plays a big part in body shaming, if you will. I know for me, I don't look at anyone or celebrity like in particular, anything like that. I just know, coming from somebody who, like Tasha said, was slim all my life, so now it's just like I gain weight and I can't get it off. You like, oh, you can get it off. I remember a time where I couldn't gain weight. I ate everything I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to eat, whatever, and I didn't gain weight. And now it's like I can't get it off. So that's something for me. I feel, not shaming my body, but I'm like, dang, I remember a time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
I
think
don't. Uh-huh.
I think that's all of us. When I was younger, my feet were a size 3 at like age 16. I weighed if 98 pounds wet until I started having kids. But I think with me, I started to appreciate how my body shaped and developed as I started to have kids, because I was a pencil, and I did at one point growing up, you look at other people and be like, why she got titties? Why she got, we the same age, why she got, and this is
And
why I
she
think that
actually
I
did say
kind of,
that, y'all.
yeah, why
She
she,
actually said
yeah,
that. I was there.
Mm-hmm.
and I think this is why I appreciate my body now. People can say whatever they want about it, but I appreciate it. My my creations created this body, and for me to dislike it is, no, I can't. There's, yes,
There was
everybody.
a joke there, but I let it go.
Yeah, but everybody does have things that they feel like they want to work on. But me personally, I think if you want to work on it without surgery. work on it naturally. You know, like do what you would normally do. Because before there was no surgery, you know, before, and then surgeries cost a lot of money
Hmm.
to be concerned about if you're gonna wake up or if it's gonna be a botched job. I ain't got time for that, you know, and I get it, but I think we're all beautiful in our own kind of way. And I think this is why we kind of created and shaped in this manner. You know, I think to look like how everybody start to look alike,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't
That's what I.
tell who's
Yeah.
who. You
Yeah.
know, this celebrity look like that celebrity. This one look like this one. You know, it's starting to
Little
look kind
Kim
of
looked
like,
like a cat.
you know, I don't,
I see.
I,
right.
I said
I ain't
little
throwing no
Kim looked
names
like a
out.
cat.
But I'm just saying, I think we look better unique when
Yeah,
you are unique, you know.
No matter
But
how
I
your
agree.
body, how good your body look, how bad it look, that don't change the person that you are. Because you can have the bomb body and just be a nasty person. So,
Yeah.
right,
and I feel like
right,
back in the day, if you think about it, people were striving to be thick and voluptuous. You know, voluptuous, not skinny. They looked, skinny people. They was just like,
Yeah.
what in the
right,
world? Like,
Especially for us, because there wasn't other people. They were looking to be skinny. We were
yeah,
right.
looking to be. If you was too skinny, did you eat today? What? It was all
right.
those
Are
type
you
of jokes.
sick?
Oh yeah,
You on that stuff?
you got the thing.
Mm.
Like, but but I will say, like, for social media, it's a dangerous thing because everything's trends go away. So you done got poked up and did all this stuff. And again, I'm not against it because I consider. But you done did all that and now you're stuck where you at. And now look at them. They taking all this stuff out. They looking all back to Halle Berry, trying to be Halle Berry when.
Right.
And then also I wanted to
Halle
ask
Berry, Halle
you, Tree, and I can
Berry.
ask the married people too, but I wonder if your perspective is different because you're married. Do you think that dating has anything to do with it as far as like what your counterparts are looking for? Or not you per se, but like in general, like do you think that have a big effect on women or men? Like you looking to stay a certain type of size, look a certain type of way because you're trying to attract a certain type of man.
Well, I would say even
She did say,
before. Oh, my bad. I thought she said the married people too. Oh, my
No,
bad.
oh,
I
you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So I'm gonna say first for me, no, that wouldn't have any play any factor in me wanting to do anything with my body
mm-hmm,
because you're gonna have to love me like this, skinny,
mm-hmm,
big, like whatever. But I do believe that there are a lot of people out there that would change their body, alter their body to pull somebody. And when you look at that, that's not,
mm-hmm.
again, going back to what I said, your body could be, whatever, or he's attracted to your body and not attracted to your mind. So how
Yeah,
that's not gonna go nowhere. So I mean, to each his own. But for me personally, no. But people do it, and then I see some people on the flip. I see a lot of stories where they're like, this person left me because I was,
Hmm.
this size,
Hmm.
and now
yeah,
they did something for themselves, and now the person trying to come back, like, no,
yep,
Hmm.
mm-mm.
But if you think about it, what I've witnessed recently, a lot of married people are getting their bodies and stuff done, and I'm like, why? Like, you entered into this matrimony. That wasn't you. Now you're a whole different person. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? So, Tasha, I don't know if it. My thing is, I keep myself upkept for me,
mm-hmm,
for me. You know, I ensure I dress, I do what I want to do for me. You
mm-hmm.
know, I don't allow society to kind of shame me and wanting to look like Cardi B or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So it becomes mind boggling when I see a married people, the woman going to get all of this stuff done. I'm like, what is going on?
But that
What what is going on?
goes back to what I said earlier. They have a poor self image.
Yeah,
You know, because like you just said, why would you change yourself or whatever? But they let society or even their spouse dictate to them, well, when I married you, you were a size 8. Well, that was 30 years ago. Only way I
Hmm.
could have stayed a size 8 was to starve myself for 30 years.
Or don't have your children.
Mm-hmm.
Now
So
flipping it back to you though, Tasha, would you like? How do you feel about that? Would you consider making alterations to yourself for your
First
partner?
of all, I'm scared to death. So I am not doing anything for anybody else that I wouldn't do for myself, first of all. So no. Second of all, no. Like, no one else can make me. I look in the mirror and I see something I don't like. And anytime I've thought about anything, exercising, whatever, it's because either I didn't feel good because I was heavier or because I just didn't look good in a bathing suit or something. It had nothing to do with, you know, nobody. No. Mm-mm.
But who doesn't look good in a bathing suit?
me,
I'm just asking the question. Who doesn't? Like, what is your interpretation of not looking good? Is it because you've seen someone else in that bathing suit that you thought you should look like that person in that?
No.
I don't
Because
look
I
like
don't
Marilyn
care.
Monroe in a bathing suit. I'll tell you that
No,
I'm
it
now.
was
I'm
about me, like what Tree said, like going back to knowing how you used to look in certain things. So therefore, you like look at this gut now, or look that. But it's all personal. It's not like oh I
Delete
look
this
right.
at
picture. Delete it.
yes. So
We
that's
on our last trip. Tasha like, don't post that one. Don't. I'm like, what? We ain't got no pictures.
please,
So
like she
y'all
don't do the same thing. Let me not.
right.
She'll delete
50
the picture
but
in
pictures.
you
your
but you
phone.
but you know how
So
people people adjust. Yeah, you have that doubt or whatever, but you know how people adjust. You wear cover ups. Guys wear
you know
t-shirts
I'm
in the pool.
queen of
you
cover
know,
up.
you just
I'm
do
not
stuff.
spending all that money to go somewhere to cover up nothing. This blubber is going to do its thing wherever it's at.
Let me tell you something. I
Okay?
used to wear cover up since I was a kid. Like I used to wear a t-shirt over my swimsuit. That was always me. Now I just find fashionable ones. But I've always been that way. Not I don't know why, but I've always been that way. So
Now you see it. That's me. And I'm not easily moved by people and their criticism. I'm not. Say
mm-hmm.
what you want, but I can guarantee you it's something on you that has a you have an imperfection as well. We all do. So it doesn't bother me. You're gonna call me fat, call me make sure you put pretty fat girl in that.
And
Like
that's usually what it is. It's projection most of the time. It's most
And when
they
people
don't
do
like something
that,
about themselves and so they
exactly,
project on
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah.
exactly.
mhm,
Definitely.
yeah. But it ain't cool,
But
because
listen,
again, you don't
if I
want it
call
done
you
to
a
you.
crackhead, that means you a crackhead. I ain't projecting nothing.
I'm like, what you
Oh.
was doing over
I mean, you think I got skinny?
there? you
You
was
on
a
that
crackhead.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's just you know, it's just life. I feel like we can I feel like as people in general, we have to do better at kind of uplifting each other instead of kind of tearing it down. This is why social social media is comedy to me. I look at things, but I more enjoy the funny part. Like all of that other stuff
Mm-hmm.
I don't play into. I feel like if you're going to be a content creator, I think it should be something positive. I think it should be something that, yeah, it's to make money, but, don't utilize that platform to demeanor other people,
Of
you
course.
know, and you always going to get those haters on there, but, brush them off. Listen,
yeah.
brush them off.
and
Okay.
and
Let's.
Okay.
and like you said, to stay positive, I think it's positively shot o'clock time.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
come on.
Ain't
This
no
is
Come
good
on.
insecure,
shot. This is
ain't
Come
no
for
on.
every.
insecurities
Come on.
here.
This
Shot,
shot is for
shot,
every
shot, shot,
curve,
shot,
every wrinkle,
shot
every
o'clock. Hey,
dent, every
shot,
stretch mark,
shot,
every
shot,
Every
shot o'clock.
pimple on your butt,
Shot,
everything.
every
Every
shot,
Wait, I don't know.
shot, shot o'clock. A pimple on your butt?
Wait.
What?
Wait.
I don't want to take a shot no
Yo.
more. So
I, I took a shot for that. What?
To the
Hey,
infection,
especially when you
imperfection,
sit down
the
at
love.
and it be right there.
Oh,
clink,
Yeah,
clink, 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 clink,
yeah, because that's
right,
the person.
right. We went off topic, everyone,
Shot.
but let's take shot o'clock. Mm.
Mm, mm,
In my glass today, I have Patron.
Woo!
Whew.
Jesus.
mm.
Ew, ew, ew.
I had some pumpkin pie whiskey.
We gonna have to
Ooh.
block them names. They not sponsoring us, guys. I had a white tequila blanco.
Yeah, tequilas.
Well, no,
Tequila.
I didn't give the name brand. I just gave it was actually pumpkin pie whiskey.
Oh,
That's the
sorry.
flavor. That's the
I
flavor.
had tequila. I had tequila.
But
Tequila.
once again, it was a very good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were saying, have a positive self image. Don't worry about what somebody in social media is saying, or they think what's the perfect body, the perfect look. That's for them. You're the perfect look for you. When you look in that mirror every day, you have to be happy. You have to look at that and smile. Look at your blubber, your curves, your
Mm-hmm.
wrinkles, whatever you want, whatever you got, and just be happy.
Yeah.
Once again, you have been listening to the On the Four podcast. You can listen to us and see us. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, and what's the other one, ladies? Spotify.
Oh, I
Oh,
thought you said that already. The shot went to my head. I thought you said that already.
and on our YouTube channel. Oh, don't forget, we're on Facebook as well as the On the Four podcast.
And you can send your comments and suggestions to
The On the Four email, ONTHE, the number 4 podcast at gmail.com. And we will see you next time.
Bye.